taking off Bellingham. You know, Bellingham can do a bit in the final third. Jack come on and I thought he brightened it up for us. You know, we started having a bit more possession. But that's the one thing I said coming into this tournament. My heart wants England to win the tournament. Of course it does. My head was saying we're probably quarter-finals, semi-finals level because of the poor performance. But what I wanted was, whatever happens at this tournament, I want us to be brave and bold and get on the ball and play through the lines and make chances. And that was a little concerning tonight.
So what happens between getting 6 against Iran and barely mustering a chance against the USA?
The problem, I think, as well, is that we're the only team in the world that play without a number 10. In modern day football, I feel like playing without that number 10, I'm a big Jack Grealish fan, but I feel like, you know, sometimes I find Gareth Southgate's substitutions to not really impact the game. I think he makes the substitutions because he thinks, okay, I'll bring this one on. But having those types of players on the bench, Foden didn't even come into the game. How? How can that be? Foden is one of the best players.
I watch a young kid in the Bundesliga, Bellingham, play that role. He scores goals, gets goals, creates goals in the Bundesliga, a threat when he plays with his team, and yet England play him as almost like a 6. Now, surely he's a kid you would... I said to Richard, I think he could be a star of this World Cup if Gareth releases him.
Allows him.
Takes off his handcuffs and says, do you know what, son? You go and play as a 10. And we'll get players around you. And I think he showed against Iran when he scores his goal. That's the kind of player that England need. To do what Scholes did, arrive in the penalty area. To do what Lampard did, arrive in the penalty area at the right time. I think he's got all those qualities.
I agree with you. And also, to add on to that, I just think, you know, Declan playing that position, fantastic defensively, Declan. But we was lucky enough to watch Modric play for Croatia the other day. He was so calm. I feel like we get someone, maybe a Mason Mount rotating into that position, not having to... If you let Bellingham release into the box and score goals, but you then get Mason Mount coming in, just playmaking a little bit, because at the end of the day, you can have as many number 10s as you want, but you have to be able to give him the ball. And Declan has all the qualities and attributes, wonderful player, but someone with a little bit more technical acumen, getting the ball off.
I sense criticism now of the coach, who 3-4 days ago was an English hero. It was a euphoric 6-2 win, and we were saying every call he'd made, he got right. He said this evening coming into this, I'll give the boys another go, they deserve it. And now there are questions about his selection and the way England have played and individual performances. So why is that? It can't be that good, and it can't be that bad.
There's no balance, though. There's no middle ground.
Would either of you two picked a different team? Let's just say, so if you're right, Geezer, there might be criticism following this performance, but if you were honest and you looked at that team, did you think when you looked at that team, that's the wrong team?
No, I didn't think it was the wrong team. I would, 100% I would have picked a different team, but I also have faith in Gareth Southgate, you know, and we're terrible in our country because we're such a...
Bringing people up to bring them down.
Bringing them up to bring them down. We really do that.
We are, but I once again, I sort of get the feeling that you're guilty of what you're suggesting others might be.
Yes. No, I am. But I'm not the England manager. And one thing Gareth has got that none of us here have got, he's got all the information. He knows how Saka's been training. He knows he looks them in the eyes in training. Phil Foden might have...
I think from the Euros, we all were trying to pick the England team, and then he played Trippier in that first game, and no one saw that one coming. And I think when we got to the final, I was thinking, actually, we have to trust Gareth Southgate because he's in amongst them, like you say, Joe. But I think we do have a tendency in England to bring people up to knock them down again. It's not a devastation. We didn't lose the game. We're sitting here acting like we lost the game. We didn't. I think, again, you've got to give USA credit, but I expected England to win this game pretty comfortably. Did you think it would be easy for America? Did you think you guys were going to...
I would say this. I think like, when you look both teams, let's start with England. You can look at the first game, you know, the result, high result, everything looked good. But you can say too, it was the first game for Iran. You saw after the first 2 goals, they broke. They lost their whole idea what they wanted to play, their tactics. They were all over the place, and then you get a result what it was. If you then see today, it's a complete different Iran. Then you see a complete different face of England against America. So I think it's just that. In general, you know the players of England, and when you look at the first game, you put it so high and say, oh, next game they have to go and beat them again, and they have to get out of a group. But then you not really see, you know, the quality of the players. You will
have an off day as well. You know? You are in the tournament. You know, it's like you've been there, Joe. There are off days within a World Cup. It's going to happen.
Yeah, but then for me, 100%, you 100% right. It's like for me when I look at it, it's like England, with the players you have, let the creative guys on the field. Let the young guys be on the field, because them the ones, they don't care. They're there to play. And most of them, like if you go with the Grealish, if you go with the Foden, they're all Bellingham. They're street soccer kids. They play like if they play 5 against 5 with their friends. And that makes a difference in these games. And this is why you can see the US team, like, look at the guys. You have an 18, you have, this is kids, they're just team. Out there, they want to play. Yeah. And with the games, they would learn from mistakes they're making, and they would get it better through the tournament. And that's, I think, is something where, as a coach from England, you have to look and say, okay, why I'm sticking with these guys, because if you go with the game from the first game, not everything was perfect.
No. It's often the case you can read a stat many different ways, but if I told you, Joe, England have won just one of the last 8, has the manager got to go?
That is the most mischievous question in your illustrious career.
But 1 win in 8.
1 win in 8.
Serious. That's not good.
It's not good. We knew we wasn't in great form coming into the tournament. A unique tournament with the timing of it. We wouldn't have time to prepare, to change. And then we had that wonderful performance in the first game, and everyone, like we all do, gets giddy. And thinks, you know, it's coming home and everything, and all the things that we think as Englishmen. But realistically, that was a little reminder of where we're at the moment. There's work to do. Like,
okay, so where are England at?
Where are England? Sitting top of the group.
Yeah.
Sitting top of the group, more or less in a qualified first. You know, the route will open up over the next few days. I think there's positives. Harry Maguire, and we must praise Harry Maguire, because he was brilliant tonight, and he's for a lad to perform like that with the pressure he was under going into the tournament.
Where are England at? Are they at the quarter-final stage? Are they a semi-finalist? Is football going home?
I think.
Did you say going home?
Yeah.
He's on one.
I live outside of the UK. I have to speak as
No, but I think we have to be realistic, because every time there's a major tournament in England, we haven't won it since 1966, and there's a reason for that. Yeah. So we have to be. For me, I think quarter-final, semi-final at this moment in time, where we're at. I think after the Euros, a lot of the players individually, they're not coming into the tournament in form.
Yeah.
If that's the case,
just my realistic.
Nothing has changed in the last 30, 40 years, has it? I mean, we've always.
I think things have changed. Things have changed. Fans go back to Wembley.
How have they changed? If England only make the quarters and semi-finals
we made a semi-final.
Yeah.
Nations League. We got into. I know that's not a traditional competition. So things have changed. And
Euros final.
And along with that, what I'm thinking with where we're at the moment is we was hugely going in the wrong direction culturally in the way we played, and we're changing the way we play. Like, I don't think we've produced the types of players like in the abundance we have, like your Sakas, your Fodens, your Maddisons, your Grealish, technical players who want to play, you know, centre-half. You guys have been in at the front row and seen the evolution of football. The fundamentals will always be the same. Good players are good players. Average players are average players. But the style of football has changed, and it outgrew us. Yeah. And now we're catching up.
And fans wasn't even going to Wembley a few years ago.
Look prettier than they have done for a number of years, but you're still saying that they're not going any further than the quarter or the semi-finals. So has that change been significant or worthwhile, if that's the case?
I think it will bear fruit over time. I do.
It's interesting to know, though, because after the tournament, depending on where England get, I think there could come a time where Gareth Southgate will step away, potentially, not because of this result, but where is the team going? Because it seems weird to sit here and say, I'm not happy with getting to a quarter-final, but we've not necessarily progressed, is I think the point you're trying to make. Without being too, cutthroat and saying, he needs to go. Like, realistically,
I said that realistically after the tournament. I don't for a moment think that should happen. But often when that's the case, you look at a coach's record, that's a fairly worrying statistic. Is he taking us to another level?
In the Premier League, if a manager of one of the top clubs had 1 in 8, then the nature of the beast, and there'd be discussions had.
In the Premier League now, you lose 2 games, there's discussions.
Exactly, but that doesn't make it right.
No, it's not right.
That doesn't make it right, and I think there's enough in the bank with Gareth in terms of what he's done. Go on.
Sorry, Andy. Talk about. Sorry, Richard.
Yeah, no, go.
Do you know when you talk about Gareth taking them on to perform in a different way? Are you saying then that the England way now is not his job, that the person they get in has to have the same ideas and beliefs that Gareth has, or do you start again? This is what I'm saying. There was a golden generation, wasn't that was going to win everything? Yeah. Right, and there's some magnificent players. Yeah. Some of the best England have had, in my opinion. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And didn't get over the line for whatever reason. Yeah. And then we've had this young group come along, right, and they're talented and skillful, but winning is something that you get used to. You eat it. It's fuel. Yeah. And this England side haven't got it yet. No. Now, if they don't go over the line here, do you rip up what you've done, or do you keep going?
No, but I think Gareth, at this moment in time, I think it wasn't long ago, fans wasn't even going to Wembley. And I think the players now, you see them enjoying themselves. I think Gareth's brought that back to the team. Yeah. So let's be, happy about that. But I think, I agree, I think there comes a point where has a manager taken you as far as they can take
Leanne,
you
if I'm honest,
after this tournament?
I don't care whether an England player enjoys himself or not.
Yeah, but I do.
I want to see him win.
Yeah, we want to see them
win.
Whether
he's happy is an irrelevance.
Yeah, but Richard, you play your best football when you're happy.
I get that, but I can't give Gareth Southgate credit for making players happy. I want Gareth Southgate to win.
Yeah, we all do.
And that's a very different thing. See, I'm old enough to remember back to Bobby Robson, a penalty kick away from the final. Yeah, I think England down the years have been closer than maybe we've given some.
Terry Venables, I guess.
Terry Venables, a stud. Yeah. JT's era, yours. Yeah. Ronaldo away. Yeah. It's not been that bad, and you say now the evolution is such that you're looking at a much better England side. I would argue that 2 or 3 of those would beat these.
I would as well, Joe. Yeah. I would as well. Okay. Do you know why I think they'd beat them? There.
Yeah.
Mentally. Yeah. I believe that. Mentally.
I think the argument of eras, the team from the 70s, the 80s, this is a real difficult argument.
Of course, good players are good players in any era.
Exactly.
But I'm interested to explore where you think the progress has been made.
Right. So over the last 10, 15 years, I would track it back to the 2010 World Cup. Our generation was coming to an end. There wasn't much coming behind us, and the performances in 2012, 14, and 16 proved that. And we lost our way. But at that time, they went. St George's Park was open. Similar to Clairefontaine in France. There was a sort of not partnership, but a deal with the Premier League and how we, why are we not producing the Xavis, the Iniestas, them type of players? They changed the structure.
We were buying a lot of talent from overseas that was better.
That was a problem.
But club football became more important than international football. That's why. Yeah. And I see old stages like us. Optics. Yeah. You talk about St George's Park. I don't think St George's Park has necessarily produced players. I think it's produced coaches whose job is to produce players, and that was always, the ladder that was supposed to be climbed. But I'm just not convinced that we're any better than we have been through the last 20, 30 or 40 years. I think that and I'm with Andy, Bobby Robson's teams, Terry Venables' teams, there's some very good sides. Yeah. Sven-Göran Eriksson was a whisker away. I don't see this progress that you're telling me I should.
I think,
and I'm not being difficult.
No. Madison's obviously got no problem. I feel there's a structure to like there's a base now. So say for instance,
I'd agree with that.
There's a structure, there's a base. We have more of an identity of how we play, and I believe there's coming through. Like we sometimes get criticised for identikit players. Players are too similar, and we're all waxing lyrical. We're all sitting there going, "Bring Jack Grealish on. He brings something different." But you also need. I remember watching the Spain side with Silva, Iniesta, Mata, Cazorla, Fabregas. If you squinted your eyes, you wouldn't know they was just all brilliant footballers within a system. So they had the system and they had these brilliant footballers. Now Spain, you can't produce them players all the time. Sometimes players are born and not made. But even without them great players, over these, they got to a semi-final of the Euros because they had young players, but they had a system. And I feel like what they're doing in England is there's a system. We're still competing in the under 15, 16, 17s, 18, 19. We're winning trophies regularly now to a certain degree with the younger teams. So I feel like a bit more possession.
But there is a plan in place. The women's has got a plan in place as well. We just won the Euros, and to touch upon St George's Park, I know that's not, I was indifferent about St George's Park, best facility in the world, but no culture, no environment. It's quite like an isolated place, but I think there has been a plan. But we have always had such good individuals that we never seem to, there's always restraints with the players, and we see that. The players, we've always had this argument, why don't the players play the same for their club and for country? You know, and I feel like Gareth Southgate, this is why I'm touching upon the part about being fun, is I feel like the players got to a point where they feel like they can be free. Tonight, I feel like it looked like we went back to that, what we used to be. And I want to touch upon Harry Maguire as well. I know we touched upon it before, because I've been really critical of him this season at Manchester United, being a Manchester United fan. But for me, he's been brilliant. He's probably been our best player over the 2 games. So credit where credit's due. And if I was Harry Maguire, I'd be thinking about potentially not being at Manchester United, because the way he plays for England, but as a player, he's completely different.
He has been for quite some time. Thinking about not being.
Well, because he's a different player, and credit where credit's due, because he's been really poor for Manchester United this season when he has played. So, and Luke Shaw again, I think he's playing really well. But Harry Maguire's been our best player, and nobody would have seen that coming. And you've got to give Gareth Southgate credit for that as well, because he's filling the players with confidence.
Do you want to hear from Jack Grealish?
I'd love to.
Yeah, I'm a big Jack Grealish fan, but I
Jack
feel like, sometimes I find Gareth Southgate's substitutions
top of your group, you're in a really good position to qualify, but your face might say more than anything else.
No, I think, like you said, we're in a good position. We played a team today that I think are very underrated, have good players all over the pitch, a lot of energy. So we knew it was going to be tough. But like you said, we're in a good position to qualify, especially, when you look back to what happened at the Euros, it was the exact same situation. We won the first game, drew the second, and then, hopefully now we go into the last game wanting another win.
How tough was it out there? Because in a defensive sense, which is where the question marks have been, England really held strong under a lot of considerable pressure from a young attack in America, which you were all briefed about, but just not the cutting edge finish that you were looking for.
Yeah, I think in the final third we maybe lacked a little bit, lacked a bit of quality at times, but like I said, we knew it was going to be a tough game. They have good players up front, Christian especially, so we knew that they were going to cause us problems. But yeah, on a personal note, obviously, we just got to look forward now to the last game, and no matter if we won, drew or lost or not, we was always going into the last game with the intention to win. So we'll be doing that again.
A lot of clamour, much as they've been to get you on, was then to get Phil Foden on. Is he fit as far as you're aware?
He said the
Phil,
coming into this,
he's fit. Yeah, obviously, it's up to the manager. He watches us every day in training. I'm sure, I think we all know how good Phil is, so I'm sure he'll get a lot of chances. And yeah, Phil just has to keep training the way he is, and I'm sure he'll get his chances.
Thank you.
And they're already starting to nibble. This is what John Terry, former England captain, of course, was telling our Arabic colleagues tonight.
Disappointing result for us. This was always going to be the toughest game in the group. I always thought it was going to be England, America, and then anyone else after that. But it's still disappointing, especially after the way we played in the first game. But yeah, disappointing we've not got on the score sheet at all tonight. Disappointed with some of the tactical changes. Very negative from our point of view. I'd love to see us be more aggressive. And we spoke about Gareth. Can he learn from his mistakes previously and those kind of things? And for me personally, I would have done things differently. And how we've not seen Foden on the pitch tonight as well, he's beyond me. He's one of our best and biggest talents. I'd love to see him on the pitch. You throw him and Jack Grealish on, and Rashford and those guys, it excites people, it gives the team a lift. These guys are big stars and need to play football.
Interesting. He's talking about Southgate's previous mistakes, Andy. What's he referring to?
I think he's referring to, the mistakes John thinks he made in the Euros and during the final, when he's always